The illustrious Jabba bids you welcome. I'm going to regret this.
I'm Pete Mitchell. He's Peyton Jones. And this is the Church Planter Podcast, brought to you by Church Planter Magazine. Hey, Church Planter, this is Pete Mitchell.
And this is Peyton Jones.
And we have the happiest topic ever for you today.
Yep.
Peyton?
We surely do. Hey, look, a lot of you guys, when you first came to, I mean, we've been doing this 5 years, right?
Whenever you're about to tell someone the topic, you decide, you know what, I better go into the wind-up to explain to them why this topic is so important.
It's a preacher. I'm a preacher.
It's like, ooh, this is going to be a topic no one really wants to talk about.
You know, but so many do. It's like the topic that nobody wants to ask how to do, like these basic things. When you become a minister, nobody tells you like how to do weddings and funerals. You got to figure that stuff out. So today we're going to talk about how to do a funeral, and the wind up is because you can't just go in there and go, hey, we're going to talk about funeral, y'all. We got to talk about this is, here's the deal, man. Like a lot of you guys have been listening. What we came to find in the beginning, we were talking about planning a church. What we found is a lot of you guys as church planners, you didn't go to seminary or nobody really mentored you in basic ministry. So what we tend to find is we have to kind of be your ministry mentor on so many basic things that I started thinking about our topics. Weddings, those are fun. Those are easy. But funerals, you know, that's somebody's big day. That's you know, and I don't mean like a big day as in woohoo. I mean like that's the day you don't want to say stuff wrong and wreck it. Like if you say something or goof up, and I have some of the worst wedding faux pas ever. Like, for example, when you turn to the couple and say, you see, when two men love each other, and you meant to say people, and you accidentally said men, that's not good, right? But
what kind of weddings are you doing, Pastor Peyton?
But it was one of my best friends, too, which was kind of even more funny because, you know, maybe some questions were raised that day. That's all I'm saying. But there was no way to bring that back. I had to just, in the middle, and then, I'm sorry, Jay. That was the only, and everybody was busting up. Well, when you screw up like that in a wedding, you can bring it back because everybody laughs, and everybody's there to laugh at a wedding. People aren't there to laugh at a funeral. So, you know, it's not quite the same when you screw up a funeral, like getting the person's name wrong. That's a really bad thing to do at a funeral. So I want to talk today. We'll do smack talk.
What do you mean Bob died? Wind up. I thought Bob was still alive. I thought he was just on life support. You mean he died too?
Oh, that's his brother? Oh, sorry. My bad. So anyways, yeah, we're going to talk today about funerals and how to do them. And maybe you've been doing them and you do them and you're awesome at them. But maybe you've been doing them. And really, to be honest, the first time I did a funeral, I was, like 20 years old, man. And I had no clue what to do. But my pastor was going to be in Israel, and I was the assistant. So I kind of had to jump in. In fact, most of what I ended up doing.
Why don't we just save this for the actual topic? Because you're already boring me.
I am, yeah. Well, hey, you as an ordained minister, Pete Mitchell, ought to be thinking about these things.
Hey, you know what? You don't have to be an ordained minister to do a funeral.
That's true.
I'm just saying anybody can do a funeral.
That is true, which is why everybody, including you, Pete Mitchell, ought to be interested.
Ashes. There you go. Done.
What is it? Ashes to ashes, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. God won't take you, so the devil must. Wasn't that you're not supposed to say that either.
Have you seen the meme where it's got George Washington and he's wearing the red Make America Great hat, Great Again hat, except all it says is Make America. I thought that was one of the best ones.
That is really good.
Man, I got on somebody on Facebook. I'm on their Facebook feed, and they just put out some of the best memes ever. They are absolutely hilarious.
Who is it?
It's called Liberty Memes. And they just equally go after everybody. No one is safe. There is no sacred ground. And then I was listening to an interview with them, and they just spoke at something called Liberty Con. And they go, yeah, you know what? Someone might join us because we put out a meme that makes fun of Hillary Clinton. And then the very next one will put out a meme that's making fun of Donald Trump. And everyone will go, this isn't the same page that it used to be. I'm leaving. Something like that.
That's rad.
They're like,
that's kind of like Coffee with Jesus. Remember that cartoon strip? He makes fun of everybody and everything.
Does he?
I love it. That's the best kind, man. When the guy doesn't have a particular axe to grind, but finds, kind of like this podcast, finds a little bit of irony in everything. And nobody is sacred or off limits. I like that. Hey, Pete, have we got any phone calls that have come in anytime recently?
You really
Any mail you want to read?
You really want me to play that phone message I got?
Hey, we can't control what correspondence we
get.
All
right. Well, this is a message that I received from a pastor in Alabama.
Hi there. My name's Dewey, and I'm calling for Pete Mitchell. I understand that Pete Mitchell will train my congregation to blow people away in the name of Jesus. Hey, Pete, give me a call. I got some bullets here. I got some gun here. I don't know how to shoot them at people. Could you please come and tell my church how to do that? That would be rad. That would be good. I would love it. We show you how to properly cook up a hog when you're here. We show you how to read the Bible. And you can show us how to shoot people. That's what we want. So we're here at your ministry, and that you can help us with that. So give me a call. Again, that's Dewey at First United Church of the Happy People in Jesus. And we're in Alabama, by the way. It's a long way to come. But we take airplanes. So we can invite you over, and we can put you on an airplane. Bye.
I'm glad that they've discovered the use of airplanes there. That's wonderful.
And here's our closing remark to that.
Church Planner Magazine.
Nice.
Hey, welcome everyone to the Church Planner Podcast, where we're finally doing this in the morning, so it's going to be better. I promise.
That's what you think, and then I kind of whipped out that funeral topic.
Wait a second, guys. This is what I'm hearing from you. Let's talk about something somber right now. Let's just kick it off and talk about funerals.
I didn't know where you're going with that.
I didn't know where I was going with it either, and I think it showed.
No, it was good. It was good.
All I got to say is, man, I'm telling you, this is my prediction. This is my prediction for the end of the world. So for everyone, I want to be clear. I am not a prophet. So let's not stone Pete after this one. But here's my prediction. Trump and Kim Jong-un are having a summit.
You say that like you mean it.
If there are two more volatile guys who should never get together ever, it's those two.
Those two need a chaperone for sure.
It'll probably be the president of the Philippines. That guy's literally just as crazy as the two of them. He just has no power whatsoever. So here's my prediction. Trump's going to go over there, and there's going to be an assassination attempt. Now, either they kill him or not, I don't know. But then that's going to mean America's got to go, what? You want a piece of me? You want a piece of me? They're going to go bomb in North Korea, which, of course, China's not going to stand for.
I don't know, though. If they take our president out, I think China will stand back and say, hey, you guys are on your own. You took the president out.
No. They're going to go, oh, no, you're too close to us. We can't have.
Hey, man, look, when Archduke Ferdinand
this is my prophecy. This is my prophecy. Let me tell my prophecy.
That turned into World War I. Never mind. I'm wrong.
And then China's going to jump in because they're going to be like, sweet, dude, let's kick them while they're down. And then Russia's going to sit there and go, hey, we're just going to wait and see who loses. And then we're going after the winner. And boom, The end of the world has come. All because of a summit. I'm just saying. Stock up now on your guns and arms. You're going to need it.
Or
the winter's coming.
Get that. Or for many of you, stock up on that binge watching of Netflix because you're running out of time.
You need to start watching Red Dawn, the original one, please.
Yes.
Because that's what's coming. Can you imagine? Well, our high school mascot was like the coolest mascot ever. So we're just going to keep going with Wolverines.
Pretty much. And, while you're at it, you might as well throw in a San Dimas High School football rules.
Oh, dude, that's awesome. Little flashback to Bill and Ted's.
Absolutely.
I like it.
I found myself about 2 weeks ago giving that entire synopsis of that movie, 1 and 2, to a pastor friend of mine.
Well, I'll have to trust you on number 2. I hated number 2. I know it was like your favorite.
What?
I know, but I hated it.
Oh, dude.
Don't you remember you and I have like night and day viewing?
We really do. Now, I have to say this. I did think of something earlier in the week. Now, normally I think, ooh, that'd be good for Smack Talk, which, by the way, if you're listening, you're already gone if you don't know this, but this is Smack Talk, right? Because you're like,
let's face it, the only people who were listening to this, the only people who were listening to this episode when they saw the title was "How to Do a Funeral" are the people who are tuning in for Smack Talk.
True. But, some people might be walking around thinking, I might be called upon one day and I won't know what to do. Just tuck that little gem away.
You know what's going to be, because podcasts are eternal. It's going to be the guy who's got a funeral like this weekend going, I don't know how to do it. He's going to come back and listen to this one.
Pete, we've been doing this 5 years now.
It's been a long time.
It is a long time, man.
But we still can't get past 100 listeners. What's up?
Pete jests. If he just made you feel like a loser for listening, he is lying. That's what he does. He's a marketer. He lies.
No. If you just signed a contract with us to advertise on the podcast, he is lying.
Hey, so I found myself every once in a while. It's funny, movies that I like that nobody else would touch with the 10-foot pole. Couple of them that just come to mind: Time Bandits. Old Terry Gilliam film, Monty Python cast, John Cleese, a few other, Eric Idle. That movie's rad. And it stars a bunch of little people. We will not call them midgets. Little people who are really, they're cherubs who worked for God in the shrubbery department during the days of creation. But they have this time-traveling map because, as one of the characters says, a bit of a botched job, you see. We only had 7 days to do it. So they have to go back through time and repair the shrubs that they got wrong. But they decide to become international pirates and use the time portals to raid, pillage, and plunder. Napoleon, King David. I mean, it's a fun movie. And the devil's in it. He has computers, so he is convinced he's going to beat God because God creates slugs. He makes computers, and that's his rationale. Fantastic movie. No one else likes it. Sean Connery's in it. I mean, it's got an amazing cast, but that's one of those movies I could watch a million times. In fact, I have it memorized. If you watch it with me, I can mouth the entire film word by word.
Oh, are you getting ready for Ready Player One?
Oh, you better believe it.
And if you haven't read the book, you have no idea what we're talking about.
Oh, my gosh, dude, go read that book now. It is like an 80s fest. And the other movie, speaking of 80s Fest,
you realize most church planners are millennials,
No.
right?
You got to do your prophecy. I get to do my stroll down memory 80s. That is like a superpower. Could you be invisible, fly, or make the train noise? Well, if I were doing a podcast, I'd make the train noise.
Peyton, right there.
But the movie I watched was Excalibur. Have you ever watched Excalibur?
I don't know. It doesn't sound familiar.
King Arthur, Merlin. It is an amazing, it has a naughty bit, so you got to fast forward that at the beginning. But that movie is the weirdest, coolest thing all at once. And, Andrea walks through the room the other day and sees Merlin talking and goes, see, he just ruins it for me. And it's true. Like, the Merlin character in that film plays it so weird, and yet it's got this, like, quirky 80s thing that kind of works for me. But he'll do things like this. He'll be like, I've been walking my way through time for hundreds of years. And then he has this weird thing he does where I think he's trying to be like mystical, but he'll go, when life and death was but a dream. And he talks like that. And it's all kinds of cheesy and just bizarre. And yet it works for me. And Arthur, of course, he tries to play himself as a young man, which means he talks like this the whole time. And it's just this weird overacted thing. But like Jean-Luc Picard is in it. Liam Neeson is in it. You can barely recognize him. He's so young in it. Like there's all these like actors that you would know now that are in this thing. And but it is a brutal movie. It's these guys in these big heavy suits of armor whacking on each other with axes and swords, and it's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's great. I'll just leave that one right there and just walk away.
I have to get my fix every few years of Excalibur.
Hey, so let's I think we need to have a section on the podcast, memes.
Oh, I agree. How about this one? No one shall wield the sword. No one shall wield Excalibur but me. That's a big line out of that movie.
Okay,
I'm just saying, like, we need that.
I don't need.
We
to
need
play
a
my
lot
play
of
on
sound
Excalibur.
bites.
I read the book. We're good.
We need that soundbite. And there was a perfect soundbite I had in my head today for us.
What about the one that I texted you? The Facebook comment.
What?
You said you wanted to bring it up on the podcast.
Oh, what was that? I don't remember. I was all like 10 minutes ago, man. I remember stuff.
You know
me.
You don't remember? Let that sink in.
Oh, that was hilarious. Yeah, so there's this I'll let you give the punchline, but there was this person posted a meme, and it was
a Christian. I know the person,
and they were looking for I don't think they got the reaction from Pete they wanted, but it was basically this. It goes, out of all of the U.S. presidents, living U.S. presidents, only one of them attended Billy Graham's funeral. Let that sink in. It was Donald J. Trump. And Pete's response.
I just put underneath that, knowing how much Billy loved to preach the gospel, he probably loved having a non-Christian there, like Trump at his funeral, giving him the chance to hear the gospel perhaps for the first time.
I thought that was brilliant of a response. And Pete sends me this whole thing. I can't stay out of trouble. Hee hee.
I didn't do the hee hee. All I put was Facebook brings out the worst in me, because I don't know what it is about Facebook, but it's like, I see all these memes and I want to like comment, or I want to like, oh, I like that one. Share it. Like, what I
love is how very frequently, or how less frequent it is for you to even get irritated when you're putting stuff like you are like the happy troll when you post stuff like that. It's like, you're not even mad. Everyone else is all mad. And I gotta stay off. I
was not mad when I destroyed our mutual friend on Facebook. I mean, I destroyed him, and I wasn't mad. I was just like, here's the problem. I was using logic. He was using emotion, and that's why I wasn't upset. I was like, dude, here's why your argument doesn't work. Boop, 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 boop. And he was like, oh no, how dare you? How dare you? What about the kids? What about the kids? Like that's you can sum up every argument right there.
Well, here's the reality is I have to back off from Facebook and social media to air out I don't like people enough, and people make me irritated enough in real life.
That's my problem. Like, I need to like seriously like ban this website, like tell my router I am no longer allowed to go to facebook.com. Because I can't help but just like comment.
Well, here's the thing, man. Like, you got your people out there who are like, hey, you gotta speak out on this, that, and that, and as Christians, and this and that. I don't often feel that way, and the reason why is, like, I think you should speak out against sex trafficking. I think you should speak out against injustice. But what a lot of people are doing now in the name of Christianity is they're really speaking for a particular political agenda.
Yeah.
And when I see that, it's almost like right now it's really cool to speak, and I'm not a Republican, but it's really cool to speak against Republicans and really cool to speak for the Democrats. But you kind of veil it and hide it or for liberalism. To me, I still think it's fallen into the trap where the disciples, they kept wanting to make everything political. And Jesus is like, look, my kingdom's not of this world, guys. We're not going there. And Paul tells Timothy, do not become entangled in civilian affairs. So for me as a preacher of the gospel, I'm always looking at everything going, is it right for me to jump in on this? Yes, I have an opinion, but I was not called to preach my opinion. I am a preacher of the gospel. My first and foremost life calling right now is to be a mouthpiece for God as much as I can. So there are times where I'm selective about what I post. And I got friends sometimes be like, hey, I look at your Facebook and it looks like it's very carefully crafted what you post. It kind of is to a certain degree, because I don't just vomit everything I think and feel on there, because I don't necessarily always represent me in my life. And so there's a certain gate that's there for me. And I'm cool with that. I've made peace with that. I don't get to say what I'm unhappy and happy about all the time, because as Paul said, I make myself a slave to all that I might save some.
Yeah. But what about the kids?
Well, what about Bob, Pete? What about Bob?
I literally, man, I gotta kill like my Facebook feed. Here's a true story, man. When everything happened after the Florida horrific events, I had to like shut off all of my gun groups that I'm in, because they were getting my dander up, because they would like take clips of like conversations they're having with people on Facebook, and I'm like, oh my gosh, these people are so stupid, and I had to turn them all off. So now my Facebook feed has no guns in it. I'm very disappointed. It's a heartbreak. But I had to do that. It still didn't stop me, but it slowed me down. That's a step in the right direction.
I think so. I think any slowing down of Pete Mitchell is a good thing.
Dude, I'm telling you. I am telling you. But I do. I need to like tell my router, Pete Mitchell is no longer allowed to go to Facebook.com.
Can you do that? Can you be like, Alexa, you need to limit me from being on Facebook and looking at gun sites?
I actually do know I can do it with my router. I could actually go in there and like ban it between 9 and 5.
Yeah, you probably should do that.
I really should. Yeah.
I need you to stay financially plump so that when I get back involved in church planning ventures, you can be my sugar daddy. I'm just going to, hey, I value honesty. I know you do too.
Who was I talking to? I was talking to my buddy Martin yesterday. He's like, so what have you been up to? I go, well, for the first time in about 7 months, I started working this week. I go, don't worry, it's only going to last for about 30 days, and then I'm going to stop it again. But I've actually been working. Go figure.
Yeah, well, hey, even addicts have to feed their habit. They have to put a little work in.
I got a
temp
big
work
project.
is not a bad thing, Pete.
I got a big project. We actually had, when I say we, I'm speaking of the royal we. We as in me. I've had 3 people join the Platinum Bivo Inner Circle in like the last 7 to 10 days. I know. 7 to 10 days.
Nice.
They were like, hey, you know what, Pete? I'm ready to step up and take this church planning thing to a whole new level. I'm like, I got your back.
Right.
That's
awesome. I don't get anything out of that when they join that.
That's why I said
I don't get a little cut, huh?
That's why I said we, like in the royal sense. I need to
don't I get a little sliver for the church planning part of that, or no, nothing?
Here's what you get. That was a wink for those of you who are.
For every here's my new rule. For everyone who joins Platinum, just for my church planning contribution, you need to give me a hug.
Oh man, I might just have to pay you.
All I'm saying, guys, right there, what you just witnessed is you need to know how to push the buttons on your partner to get what you want. And that's what you just witnessed.
You read Donald Trump's The Art of the Deal, didn't you? Right there. You just went right into negotiation.
Changed my life. I highly recommend it right alongside the Bible.
Well, never mind. I'm not even going to go there. Okay. So
I probably shouldn't have gone there either, but
so
hey, should we actually get started with today's topic?
I was just thinking that.
Welcome. You are. This week's episode of the Church Planter Podcast is brought to you by
Regal Cinema Theater Church. Guys, here's the deal. If you're just thinking the only places you can meet are a home, a school, or a community center, you're blowing it. You need to go and reach the unreached in public spaces. And the way you can do that is get in touch with Regal Cinemas. They will allow your church to meet there on Sunday mornings. How do you sign up? You go to corporateboxoffice.com/theater-church. Remember, when you spell theater, it's not how you think it was. No, my friend, it is the British way. Why? Because you're in America. That's why. Remember, that's corporateboxoffice.com/theater. That's THEATRE-church.
I like it.
Like
so, today's topic, which is being brought to you by Regal Cinema. And if you think about it, a lot of movies that play have people dying in them. That's like a major point of like every movie, someone's got to die.
Oh, that was a rad attempt at a segue, Pete.
So if you were the pastor at a church that happened to meet at a Regal Cinemas, how would you do your funeral?
Ooh, wow. I would totally show a rad film about death.
A rad one.
Sorry. That's a bad answer.
I like
bad
that
answer, Peyton.
At least you're not showing the bad films about death.
Yeah. Which are?
I think it was like Total Recall. Wasn't that the one that had like the most people dying in it ever?
That was just a bad film in general. Thanks for driving tidy car. So,
come on, dude. That was like, what was that? Early 90s? You can't fault that.
He was pulling that big marble out his nose.
Yeah,
Come on.
you still know it, and you know all the lines.
I saw it in the theater like 3 times.
2 weeks. 2 weeks. Weeks. Sorry.
That was rad. You know, not to be outdone by Blade Runner.
I'm not kidding, man. I tried watching that thing again the other day. I was like, I could not get past like the first 10 minutes. I'm like, this movie is so bad. It's just an awful movie.
Yeah, we don't like the same movies. So I actually enjoyed that. That was a fun ride.
You watched it again?
I would totally watch it again.
I don't think you can make it.
You don't think so? I'll have to try it.
It's that bad.
Try it.
It's worse the second time. Whereas Star Wars got better the second time if you take a nap, this one got worse the second time if you stay awake.
Can't remember who was asking me about that film recently. They're like, so would I need to watch the first one first? I'm like, yes.
What, Blade Runner?
Yeah.
I did rewatch Blade Runner, but even when I rewatched Blade Runner, I was like, wow, this is really slow. But it was like, 80s, 90s, whatever, whenever it was. So,
hey, Pete, you really don't want to talk about funerals today, do you?
You're the one who let the transition keep going. It's not my fault.
So, back to funerals. I would like to title this one "The Joy of Funerals." I figured that title hasn't been taken probably on the podcast world. So, dude, morning podcasts are fun. We can never do podcasts in the afternoon.
The joy of funerals.
The joy of funerals.
I can't wait till I get to do another funeral. Who's dying in my congregation? Because I am just tuned up to do a funeral.
I can't wait to lose another loved one. That was so fun. It's funny because, I think about death a lot. And I've actually been going through a really rough time with death, which is kind of to be expected. I don't think you're supposed to enjoy it. I think that Jesus, when it says in Jesus wept at Lazarus' tomb, I think it actually says that he was angry. Some people say he's angry at unbelief. Other people say he was angry at death. I think he was angry at death. The Bible says death is an enemy. The Bible never says that death is a natural, the circle of life. That's the crap that we tell ourselves on pop culture because we don't want to face the reality that death is an interruption in the created order of the universe. Death was never meant to be.
No, and that's actually one of the things. That's actually one of the things that I found most interesting was in rereading Genesis, seeing that death was actually a gift from God, where he's basically going, "Look, if we don't stop him from getting the tree of life, he's going to live forever," and that's not good.
Yeah, and even you see that. You see where, like, the limit of years on our life is actually God's mercy. So after the flood, he says, hey, you guys aren't going to live so long anymore, because you had the Nephilim, you had people living hundreds of years old who got so good at sinning that the world became a cesspool.
You did not just go to the Nephilim, did you?
Oh, dude. I'm
Genesis says they were there before the flood and after. So don't make us go back to that conversation that we had on Voxer about the Nephilim.
Hey, listen now.
Which would be a way more fun topic.
I am an expert in Nephilim.
That would be a way more fun topic than the funeral.
It would be fun. But I found a crazy book when I was cleaning out my office on the Nephilim.
Oh,
you know how, like, when you're pastoring and people are like, oh, you have to read this book, pastor. And you look at it and you're just like, just the cover tells me this book and you are a little bit crazy. But it was one of those books.
Oh, you're one of those Christians.
Sure, I'll read this. Thank you so much. I guess I'll know what I'm doing for my quiet time in the next couple months. But, it's interesting. I can't think of anything better to be studying right now than the Nephilim while we're trying to reach downtown Long Beach. But, it's funny because, the whole idea is that, death was an interruption and you had the rise of all of this evil, and God's like, boom, that's it. But when it comes to funerals, like I said earlier, you really don't want to screw up someone's day where they're mourning, right? It's a serious time. And personally for me, I mean, I started doing funerals, like I said, when I was about 19 or 20. It was one of the first big boy jobs that I did as a minister, communion being the very first. I handled communion every week, and that terrified me. So I remember getting asked to do communion. I think they were kind of like, here's the janitor job. You babysit people while they come into the prayer room for communion. And I had this experience with it. Like, I can't believe they've asked me to do this, like, this is sacred. This is, and I was, and I still, communion to me is this kind of awesome experience and this burden. Like, I don't take it lightly, but doing a funeral felt like that as well. And so I asked my pastor, I said, hey, I've never done a funeral. What do I do? And I was terrified. And, so he goes, here, read this book. And he gave me, like, the Minister's Handbook. It was published by Baker.
I thought it was going to be another book on the Nephilim. Okay, that's cool.
It wasn't the Nephilim book. No.
Okay. All right.
It was actually a book analyzing supralapsarian and infralapsarian theologies. It was very helpful. And no, it was the Minister's Handbook by Baker Books. And it gave just a very basic outline. But what was most helpful was what my pastor said. And he goes, Peyton, here's what you do. He goes, let me just run it down for you in like 30 seconds. So this is going to be a quick podcast. I'm teasing. We'll talk about more on that. But he goes,
we can stretch anything out.
They're there to remember somebody. Keep that in the forefront of your mind. He goes, here's what you got to do. Number one, you open up a prayer. Number two, you welcome everybody there. You talk about the person. You have all the family write you a paragraph or two. You share a summary of the life. You give a mini potted biography of that person's life. He goes, then you pray again, you preach the gospel. And he goes, now you're not going for the gold. You're going to preach maybe a 5-minute or 10-minute gospel sermon. He goes, then you're going to ask the family to come up one by one. And I go, whoa, hold on. If I'm going to preach the gospel, what if the person's not saved? What do I do? So I'll come back to that answer. But anyways, he goes, you have the family come up, you have them speak, and he goes, and then you pray, and that's it. And if you go to the graveside, there's another mini ceremony, and that one really freaked me out because he didn't tell me what to do for that. And I remember going to my first graveside, I had no clue what to do, so I just prayed a bunch. And,
I was going to say, you said the gospel again.
No. On that one, I'll go through it step by step. But that was kind of the basic overview, and it seemed pretty simple, So a lot of times there's a wake, you announce that at the end, but it's that simple. It's literally that you open in prayer, you give a overview of their life, you pray again, you give a gospel message, you pray again, you ask the family members to come up and share, and you close in prayer and thank everyone for coming. I mean, it's really that simple. So a lot of ministers, when they're going into ministry, they don't realize it. Like a wedding service, I could do blindfolded now. In fact, I have that thing memorized, but the reality
and you
is
have done it blindfolded, so
yeah, well, that's extra money. But the reality is I don't charge for weddings or funerals. People do end up giving you gifts. It's just what people do, and it depends. If it's a funeral, I'll keep it. If it's a wedding and the couple is poor or young, I don't keep it. You know, I tell them, no, look, I'm ripping this up. Or if it's cash, I slip it back into their jacket or something like that. I do something sneaky and give the money back to them. But
thanks for that snort, by the way. That was a great one. That was.
Yes, you're welcome. I am a productive man in many ways.
Yes.
But you know, it's interesting because when it comes to it, like some guys make killer money. I hear of guys sometimes charging $5,000 to do a wedding. I know because I.
And if you'd like to find out how to do that, you can join the Bivo Inner Circle. We will soon be having Ed Joy's.
How much does he charge? Do you know?
He's got different levels depending on how much counseling you get with it, but I think it's basically like $1,000.
Yeah, which is cheap. I mean,
depends on where you're at much in the country. Yeah, and I don't. By the way, I don't think anybody's wrong for taking money for a wedding. It's 20 minutes.
I weigh it through
it's
every
the greatest 20 minutes ever.
Hey, I weigh it through every time. You know, should I be taking this? Should I charge? Should I this? Should I that? But I found more often than not, it creates gospel opportunities and gospel relationships that I value more than taking money. And that's kind of tended to be my MO. On funerals, though, I've never set a fee for a funeral, but I for some reason I'll take it. You know?
Yeah. See, to me, it would be the exact opposite. I'd have no problem taking it from the wedding. It would be harder for me to take it on a funeral.
Yeah, it's funny because we talked about that because we got Ed Choi with Bivo Inner Circle, and he's come up with this whole thing where he's like, hey, you can pretty much supplement your income that you don't make from ministry doing weddings if you want to give your time to do that. And I was like, hey, brother, my buddy does that with funerals, and like the funeral home loves him. Like they'll buy him like, $250 worth of clothes at the local surf shop because it's in Oceanside. They love him to death, but the guy is so gifted at it that they're constantly recommending him. So he's busy. He's always doing weddings, funerals, Fridays, Saturdays, but he makes tons of money off it. And I remember you going, yeah, I don't really want to get into that.
Yeah, because you were like, hey, maybe we can put together a program on how to make money off of doing funerals. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. That's not me. I can't be promoting, hey, go chase this ambulance. If the dude dies, cha-ching, go do his funeral.
Yeah, and I get that.
I can't.
And of course, it's not something that I personally struggle with because I don't, I don't know, man. Like, I don't personally make money off this stuff. So, if someone happens to give me a gift, cool. But also, if they're poor, I will tear it up, Yeah. So it just depends. Like if there's a single woman who has lost her husband and she's, been the stay at home all her life, I'm not going to take that check. You know what I mean? Somebody like, no, it's my gift to you. I loved your husband. One major piece of advice, guys, and I see ministers do this a lot. Do not do it for your family members. Because you're the minister, everyone's going to normally and naturally look to you. Do not do people close to you unless, I say that with a caveat, unless it really means something to you to do your father's funeral. I did my father's funeral. I don't know why. I think because I was the minister and it saved everybody a phone call. I would have much rather have just sat and mourned my dad.
That's funny. My dad, as a pastor, has done everyone in my family's funeral.
Yeah. All
my grandparents.
One of my best friends passed away. Is really interesting because I don't know if you know this, Pete, you're a replacement. I had a best friend before you.
Believe me, I know I'm a replacement. And I know I'm replaceable.
No, but 7 years ago, yesterday, my best friend passed away. And, he was the guy I couldn't wait to start hanging out with when I got back. And it was devastating to me. I mean, it was very crippling. And last night, I just sat and cried. I posted something on Facebook, and, it's every year, man, it sucks. And, all day yesterday, I was grumpy. I was angry. I was sad. I was, depressed. And, but I couldn't have done that dude's funeral. In fact, I went up to speak and I lost it. And it took me a long time to regain my composure, because when it's someone really close to you, you don't need to be running that funeral. You need to be, and I didn't run his funeral. I didn't officiate. But they had me get up and speak, and I'm glad I spoke, but it was tough, man. It was really tough. So I would say on those two things, definitely don't, if I were given pointers on this, don't do a funeral of someone who you're really close to. If you want to just have that closure and that rite of passage, funerals are a rite of passage for saying goodbye, and it's an important rite of passage. And I think sometimes you just need that, So, yeah.
So how do we do a funeral?
So the way that I do it, first off, is don't crack jokes all over the place. That's not the time.
What about if you're doing my funeral? Can you crack jokes?
I couldn't take your funeral, man.
No, but see, we're not that close to friends. We never hang out. When was the last time we were at Islands? Come on.
It's because we live so far away, man.
That's what I'm trying to keep.
That's going to change.
I'm trying to keep it so you can do my funeral.
All right.
That's why we're staying far away.
I think your dad's going to want to do your funeral.
Oh, so you think I'm going that young?
Pete may not be a prophet, but Pete might know a few things. That's all I'm saying. Just joking. Remember, that's corporateboxoffice.com/. Let's change the subject. So, anyways, no, man, I'll do the best I can. And if I can, brother, I'm going to find an inflatable blow up little person ninja to fly around during the entire service.
Oh, I think you need to truck in 150 little people ninjas. Just
pallbearers.
But I want them to lift me up over their head.
Can I dress them like Ewoks? So that they're like, ooh, cha.
You can do whatever you want. I'm dead, man. I'm dead. But I want it to be oh, I like that even better. But I want it to be like they're stage diving, right? That's what I want.
My wife's looking at me. She's not convinced we're actually doing a serious Bible podcast here.
All right, let's go back to
I don't think we are. Okay. All right, back to talking about serious, depressing things. Thank you, babe. Duly noted. Thank you for that. Keeps me straight, man. So, going back to this, another pointer that I would check your fly. Always check it. No, okay, get serious now.
No, that's
wear
true.
Wear black. I don't mind you having, it's not about you. It's not like a wedding, where it's not about the bride. It's not about you this time. Wear black. Wear a black tie. As the minister, I don't care what everyone else is doing, but that's kind of like your uniform. You need to look like a chauffeur if you're going to do this. Just don't wear that hat. And as you do it, here's the deal. When you preach the gospel, one of the things that was really important for me was kind of distinguishing how to preach a gospel. If they're saved, you talk about the difference Jesus made in their life, quote scripture, and drive it home. Solomon said, better to be in the house of mourning than the house of feasting. The reason he says that in Ecclesiastes, people are thinking about death, and they need, when they're thinking about death, people are really open. Their own mortality has hit them in the face. And then also, too, if they're unsaved, that's where the rubber meets the road a bit. And so my very first funeral was for a man who did not know Jesus. And I didn't know how to handle that. I'm like, so I understand how to preach the gospel, but what do I do? Like, hey, Frank didn't believe in Jesus, but, you'll be in hell if you don't believe, just like Frank. Like, what do you do with that? So I asked my pastor, and his advice to me, and best advice I ever received, was he said, this is the way you handle that. You talk about what Jesus said, I'm the resurrection, the life, yada, 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 or whatever text you take. And he goes, and towards the end, you say, look, Frank, the second Frank died, Frank stood in front of his creator. And if Frank could tell you one thing right now today, it would be, believe in everything Jesus said. Trust in Christ with all your, and he says, let Frank preach it for you, because when Frank stands before the Lord, he's going to realize, he goes, don't say all that. The last thing you want to do is call any attention to the fact that this guy might be, suffering still, like that's terrible, right? You allow people to have you just don't speak to it, in my opinion. I think it's cruelty to say, well, hey, everybody, I know you have comfort to think he's not suffering in his body, but let me tell you about the suffering he's doing in his soul right now. That's just cruelty. That's just sadistic. And you need to not do that.
I don't think most people would do that.
That guy who called earlier for the podcast, and left that message, he might do that.
Yeah, but he's not a faithful listener of the podcast.
No, he isn't. So, and by the way, all my family's from Alabama, so don't take offense.
That's why I can make jokes at certain ethnic groups, because I am one of them. Is that what that was?
Yeah. So
I can bag on people because I'm somehow connected. My wife is, of that descent, so I can bag on that group.
Yeah. It's Gran Torino, baby. Gran Torino.
I don't understand that.
As long as you attack everyone. It's all cool.
Is that what they did in Gran Torino? That was a great movie.
Absolutely they did.
That was
in fact, movie. I saw that movie in L.A.
Wait. Here we go. You ready?
Yeah. Oh, isn't that best? Every once in a while, you come across that person. It's just a little crazy. That person that you probably shouldn't push too far. That's a great line in that. That's what he says right then.
I got to go. Oh, was it?
Yeah.
I got to go back and see that one again. Because that was a good movie.
It was very good, and that's a great scene.
I did, just on the funeral mix, I did see Death Wish this last weekend.
Good?
Really good.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I don't know how he did it, but somehow he bought a full auto AR-15. I don't know how you do that, but that was cool.
Bad timing.
That's why they wanted to release it after it was supposed to release earlier, but it was right after the Nevada concert.
Oh,
so really? They put it off. So then they were like, well, we can't keep putting it off. We'll never get this movie
guys,
out. This
is America. There's probably no good time to release that movie.
Actually, I'd say there's a good time to release that movie. It's called Release It Now. It was really good.
So here's the deal, man. Like the other thing in the last,
Back to the topic.
Back to the topic. The last thing, and this is about the, actually is second to last thing. The part about people sharing. I've seen this go really, really wrong, particularly in funerals I did not officiate, where they have the family say a couple things. And guys, you need to check with the family who they want to share, right? You can't just make it like a smorgasbord. Everybody just come on up to the buffet table, and people start saying stupid things, weird things. I remember when he used to dress in women's clothing, don't open that up for everybody. It is not okay. People start sharing secrets. So you ask the family, you ask the next of kin who they've agreed can speak. And if they say we want an open time for everybody, which the family sometimes do, you hold the microphone. Now, I've seen people try to grab the microphone from me. Doesn't happen. I just say, I'll hold it. I will not let people grab the mic from me when I am officiating. The reason why is I've got an on-off switch on that microphone, and even if they grab on, I pull back. And I said, I'll hold it. It becomes a thing. Like, people know, okay, he's going to hold the mic. Because what people try to do is they'll try to manipulate.
Yeah.
And like I said, I had people, friend of mine who took his own life. I didn't officiate at that funeral, and I watched people say the most terrible things, and I was ready to jump out of my skin, because of some of the stupid things said. And you just don't need that. And
so how do you stop it? Okay, so someone's
so
saying,
you're holding the mic.
Let's use this as an example. Let's say, because a lot of our guys are going to do funerals for people who have committed suicide.
Right.
So because in Catholicism, mortal sin, blah, blah, blah.
Well, when you're holding the mic.
Okay, so someone starts to go, it's too bad he's in hell now. You know, what do you do?
You hold the mic, you pull it back, and you say, actually, just for everyone here, I want to comfort you. So-and-so knew Jesus. And right now, we have no doubt that they're with the Lord. Yada, yada, yada. And you say that. You speak for that. They put the only requisite to getting into heaven is put your faith in Christ. And there's all the rest is man-made. I just shoot them down. I just flat out contradict them and say, actually, that's not biblical. Right? Because right there, when you're dealing with it, I'd rather have that one person be mad at me.
So do you just take the mic away and then go on to the next person? Oh,
absolutely. I step back and I speak. And if they go, I'll say, we're going to hear from someone else right now. Boom. I go to someone else. And they can be mad at me because maybe they and their spouse and their immediate family are mad at me, but the rest of the room is like, thank you.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, especially the family. So who even cares, right? You're doing this for the family.
And then it's just like, okay, and everybody quickly gets the lesson. Okay, don't be an idiot, right? Like, don't say stupid things here.
What if he's not saved? He's not saved, and someone goes, he's going to hell, blah, blah, blah.
Then at that point, I pull it back and I say, hey, you know what? If you were God, you would be the judge. Thankfully, you're not the judge. Right now that they stood before God and God is a righteous judge. Let's hear from someone else. Boom.
Okay.
Again. And so what you're doing is you are in control, and you have to make sure you're in control. For that reason, what I do is, again, I tend not to have them come up to the front for that, because when you've had them come up, so I will take the mic to them.
Yeah.
Because then I can walk away from them easily. They're seated.
Do you start it by telling people, hey, I want to keep these to 20, 30 seconds?
Yep, absolutely. You put a limit on it. You don't say 20 to 30 seconds, but you say brief. Let's keep them brief. If you have a story, let's keep it brief. Because people will tell 5 minutes, and then they'll pontificate on it. And so, but you're also, again, the gatekeeper. So if the story's good, and it needs to go long, you say that. If the story's just rambling, you say, so that other people have an opportunity, I'm going to need you to kind of, I'm looking for the word here. I'm going to need you to be brief. Something like that is a nice way to say it. So, and you can even, if they say, well, I need more, you say, you know what, brother, there's going to be a wake afterwards. Everybody would love to hear that story. Come find this brother. Okay, who else has something brief? Right?
I like it.
So that's the best way to handle it. So lastly, at the graveside, what frequently is done traditionally is you take a piece, the casket's there. Sometimes people like to say a couple final words. Remember, you're probably not going to have a mic there. If you do, same rules apply. If not, same rules apply. Normally, it's customary only to have 2 or 3 pre-designated people to either say something or pray. And then you just say ashes to ashes, dust to dust, and you take the soil and you just sprinkle it on the coffin. That's it. And then you say, let's pray. Yada, yada, yada. Done. Everybody want to thank you for coming. We're going to meet back at such and such house. Boom, boom, boom. And thank you for paying your respects today. I can tell that so-and-so was very loved, and I know that he'd be grateful that you all were a part of his life and took the time to be here. Yada, yada. You give a final admonition. Again, Christ is standing there. He comforts those who mourn, yada, yada. I always end with Jesus, and that's it. It's really simple. So don't be afraid of it, guys. Hopefully today this kind of takes a little bit of the teeth out. And if you're really excited to do it, if you've caught on to the joy of funerals, there's something wrong with you. But, it is a great gospel opportunity.
I think, too, the kind of the cool thing is with a funeral more so than with a wedding, it's really hard to screw up a funeral in the sense that, like a wedding, it's got to happen. This has got to happen first, and the bride's got to come down, and then, we got to go to this thing, and then we got to go to that. It's like it's a funeral.
Yeah.
It almost feels like, look, we weren't prepared for this anyway, so it's going to be all over the place.
Absolutely. And, the other thing, too, is when you're prepping for it, there is sometimes some preparation that's done, like the deceased or the family wants a certain passage read. The deceased or the family wants certain hymns sung. So you just sort all that. You ask all that at the beginning. It's more about what the family wants to do. So, yeah. So those things are important. So find all that out. And guys, hopefully it's been helpful to you. And Pete, with all this doing funerals and running a church plant, you don't have time to do all the books. Where do you go?
Well, I was just going to ask, is there anyone that can help me put together my funeral stuff?
No. BibleInnerCircle.com.
Cha-ching. Yeah, when it comes to getting my books done, my tithe, we're coming up here on tax day, we use simplifiedchurch.com.
Ta-da! Yeah, and it's really good to have that, because a lot of churches don't realize as a 501c3, you need to do a 990 or a 990 EZ. How do you know the difference? You better talk to somebody and find out which one of those bad boys you got to file. You got to file with the state. You got to file with the government, the IRS. So it's good to be talking to people. If you're planning a church and you're just kind of winging it or flying blind, you have annual requirements. So talk to simplifiedchurch.com. Let them help you with all your bookkeeping and IRS compliance needs, and even payroll.
Love it.
All right, guys. Well, this has been the Church Planner Podcast. It's your go-to for smack talk and a bunch of nonsense, and hopefully some helpful stuff on church planning ministry in general. But remember, if you want to reach the ones that nobody's reaching, you need to go where nobody's going and do what nobody's doing.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
Thanks for joining us for another weekly episode of the Church Planner Podcast with Pete Mitchell and Peyton Jones. We'd love to hear your comments on this episode of the Church Planner Podcast. Visit us online and let us know what you thought at churchplannerpodcast.com. If you subscribe to us via iTunes and have enjoyed the podcast, leave us a positive review. The more positive reviews we receive in iTunes, the more iTunes will promote us to other church planners who would benefit from this show. This podcast is brought to you by the Church Planner Magazine, which is available in the iTunes newsstand or online via churchplannermagazine.com.